We knew that day that the models were showing that there would be a warm front and dry line triple point somewhere up in northern Oklahoma or southern Kansas. So the target was pretty much set right there. It was going to be up in that direction.
Now, on that day, we had an IMAX crew from Greg McGilvery's group in California, and they were going to make an IMAX film. The IMAX film was going to be made not in 1991. It was made in a subsequent year. I think it was probably 1993 that they made the movie, but they came out to scout. It turned out that they got their best footage on this particular day.
This is the first time an IMAX movie crew was with Storm Chasers, so we wound up with them for several times, and May 16th was one of those days.
On the 16th, again, I like southern Kansas, so I went on up and kind of to the Argonia area in southern Kansas.
I went over to Wichita early afternoon, and I wasn't really sure where storms were going to go up. I thought there might be some storms in south central Kansas, but again, I wasn't real familiar with the setup because I'd been busy the day before, and then I had business here this day. But I took care of my business in downtown Wichita, and I think I got done about 4:30, and I could see a cell developing southwest of Wichita. And I thought, well, lucky me, maybe something's going to happen, And so I just got my camera, and I had my paper maps, and I drove out southwest of Wichita and got on the storm. And it was like maybe driving 20 miles.
By the time we got in northern Kansas, we were seeing the storm develop off to the west, and so it was an easy intercept, actually. And by the time we got on it, it was undergoing a classic dry slot, rain-free base. We started seeing the rotation in the base, and we set up to the east of it.
Look off to the southwest, and you'd see a lowering, a nice rain-free base like you get with a classic supercell. It looked like it was rotating. And it looked like a brief tornado touchdown under the wall cloud off to the southwest. I think that was an EF0 that formed, or an F0 back then.
I was in a location where I normally do not get, and that is I was north of where the tornado was developing. I think I was kind of playing between bases. There was a base to my south and there was a base to my north, and so I was kind of playing in between. There was no precip yet at that stage, and then a funnel begins to descend to my south, and of course that's perfect contrast.
Gosh, it's heading right for me.
I was probably about 3/4 of a mile away from it, and it was moving slow, and it was pretty exciting to see all that happen. I hadn't really been that close except for the Andover tornado. You get your beginning phase with the dust whirl, and then finally it became more mature with the stovepipe and started really lifting a lot of dirt into it. It was quite pretty, and nice thing, it was moving slow.
Initially, it was a funnel that descended into a dust bowl, dirt bowl, grinding it up, very, very intense looking. And then the subvortices that started to play around the periphery, love those. They were amazing.
Yes, go, 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 love those vortices.
These little vapor trails, you've seen them time and time again, and they're just so neat to watch, so fast. And then the condensation fully came down from the cloud base, and so now it was an elephant trunk.
Rear flank downdrafts coming in, we got northwest winds. All right, it's behind the tree. Zoom out till it comes back from behind the tree. Come on, get from behind the tree, please. From behind the tree, please.
Yeah, well, here's what happens. You got to get, when you're successful, you get giddy. And I was a bit giddy there, and I was thinking, well, I can tell this tornado what to do. And, it's just like, I planned this all along. And so I got a little bit, headstrong with it, and I said, yeah, can you move from behind the tree? It's just like being the director. And in fact, because of that line, a friend of mine, Bill Lindy, got me a gag gift. He got me a director's chair. And on the back of the chair, it says Tornado Director. So, because I'm telling tornadoes now what to do. But then the rain started because I was north of it, and I had a kind of, the road network wasn't working out very well because the storm does not follow the road networks all the time. So I had to kind of battle the rain area, and still the tornado would not come my way. It would just go due east. So I had to parallel it on the north side.
Go for it, tornado!
But I thought, well, I need to move back to the north and let it pass south of me because it seemed to be going more east than northeast. And what was interesting, it roped out, and it was one of the prettiest rope outs I've ever seen. I haven't been that close to a rope out like that since. But it was about 3/4 of a mile south of me. I was on a paved road. There's a nice road network. It was an east-west dirt road I started on, and then as it went south of me, I came back up this paved road to put a little distance between it and myself. And I mean, it was right there, and it's this big rope that goes all the way up to the cloud base. And I remember that was just amazing to see, you know. And then what was interesting is it was roping out, a new circulation formed off to my east, which was the next tornado. I think it was the third one in the sequence. The second one was rated EF1, which is the one I just watched, and it roped out. Then a new one formed just to my east. I could see the circulation in the cloud going. And that turned into a EF3, and I couldn't follow that because of the road network and where I was at. But I saw that form. I also remember as that was forming, it had been fairly calm where I was at. And suddenly this really strong gust of wind hit me from the west, and it felt more like, instead of coming at me horizontal, it felt like it was coming from above. And I think that was an RFD developing as this new tornado formed in my east, and it nearly knocked me over because it was like boom, and knocked the door into me. And so I got in the car, and then it started to hail because we were starting to get a little hook around. And I thought, well, I better move and get out of here.
So it was a classic intercept. We were close enough to get data.
Jim was running the radar. We collected good data. And also the IMAX film people got some great footage, which was used in the movie, and they also got some good stills that were used for the publicity shot.
And that tornado was a classic elephant trunk. Eventually it produced this kind of weird pipe cleaner style debris ball that was squared off at the top. It was rather interesting like that.
It was just absolutely beautiful, silhouetted condensation funnel over a bright yellow, I think it was a wheat field. So it made for gorgeous photography. And we got pretty much the whole life cycle of the tornado.
Starting down, we see debris on the ground. Let's get to its latitude.
Yeah, let's get beyond those trees over there and we'll stop.
All right, let's get the old radar out. Okay, guys, rock and roll.
Stopping tornado 513. What's the mileage?
Mileage is now 8.95.
I got this thing rolling here. Okay, Herb?
Excellent. Okay, very good.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
Do you hear the vortex signature?
Perfect.
Is it recording?
Recorder's on.
Both recorders?
Yes.
I'm putting up the power to 1. I'm on the right side of the tornado now, and I'm going over to the left.
I see no signal in the needles.
Okay, you want to go in FM? I took a lot of cross-sectional CW.
Yeah, let's go on the FM CW now.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
FM now.
Okay, turn the gain down. We're overloading.
CW and move it over.
Okay,
now.
take the earphones. Take the
Hey,
earphones.
back to FM.
51747, picture taking a tornado.
It's not a 6x7.
With debris cloud,
40 seconds,
no,
6x7.
no people in it.
Okay. I'm in FM. I'm going back to CW. All right.
Time is 5:18.
I'm going to go back to CW. I'm having contamination from car I'm on the left side. Okay, back to FM.
The winds weren't as high as the other tornadoes of that spring that we did. You know, we got, oh, I forgot, it was like 3 or 4 tornadoes, and that one was a modest one, you know, 70, 80 meter per second winds, which, you know, is classic EF2 style, but nothing really outstanding. The IMAX crew, they were enthralled. I mean, they got the whole thing. And if anybody's ever seen the movie, you know, it's this nice elephant trunk tornado over green wheat fields of Kansas. And they put all sorts of sound effects into that to make it really frightening.
But then I caught back up to this storm in Wichita, probably about an hour later, and it produced a 4th tornado near McConnell Air Force Base. And it was kind of along the gust front, and I thought it was going to form a little further to the northwest, but it kind of just did it at the nose of the gust front, and a mesocyclone formed. And it was fairly brief, but that was very interesting because I was able to watch a cyclic sequence, and when I chased storms before, like with Andover, it was moving fast enough. It was some work to stay with it, though it cooperated with the turnpike. But this one, everything was moving slow enough, you know, you could catch back up to it and kind of stand and watch and learn some about the structure, because I hadn't chased a whole lot before about 1988, so this was kind of new to me at that point.
So 91 was a fantastic year. I mean, it was above normal action in terms of tornadoes. Clearly, when I say fantastic, I have to put the disclaimer on that. That was from a research position. We have lots of events. We got lots of data, successful intercepts. Needless to say, from the public point of view, there were certainly disasters. You know, Andover, Kansas was just an awful disaster. And there were other deadly tornadoes that night in Oklahoma. You know, the data that we collected on the Red Rock Day was basically, it set a new bar in terms of wind speeds, and gave us an understanding of what, you know, wind speeds that we would expect in a violent tornado. That was certainly one of them. And that wind speed record kind of held until 1999 with the Bridge Creek tornado. So the neat thing about that year was that we would have big breaks. We'd have a week break, and then a big system would come through, and we'd have 2 days to play with it. Then there'd be another break, and then another system would come through, and this would happen on a regular basis all the way through the end of May into June. And so that was a kind of an interesting thing, because at that point, you know, we could all catch up and reset for the next event. So it wasn't one of those years where it's just day after day after day. So a little bit different in that respect, but the tornadoes that we got were photogenic. Some of them were very big, very powerful.
Warm air, RFD, cold air.